Welcome to Empowering Innovators, the YouTube series where we'll talk about innovation the startup way. Today I have with me John van der End, CEO of SPAR the Netherlands. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
So John, you've been in retail since 1986, that's 34 years.
Right.
Wow, what a life.
Yeah,
what a ride of a lifetime, I would say.
Yeah, that's a life in retail.
Yeah.
And,
what has happened in the last 10 years in retail that was very different from when you started in 86?
Yeah, well, the big thing, of course, in retail are the big changes in online and digitalization. That is really, that made the revolution in retail.
Yeah.
And that started even earlier, 15, 18 years ago, but the big bang was especially the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. And so 10 years ago you started feeling that the business was sort of like changing over to e-commerce. And what kind of retail business were you then? Were you in the...
No, I was in fashion business,
right?
And then in electronics. Yeah. And you saw that changing, but it's always important to understand that online, even in the big companies, is only 5 to 10% of the total sales in retail.
Of those companies, or
yeah, but in general, general.
Yeah. So there's still room to grow. Are you saying that, or is it?
But still 80%, or well, it depends a little bit on which industry you're in. But in food, for example, it's only 5%.
Right.
Yeah. So you should take care of your stores, but you should always look at the future.
So you agree with the expression, the store is the core?
The store is the core, but it's always the customer who is telling you what the store is. Right. For a customer, it can be a brick and mortar, but it can also be an online store.
Right.
So that's why, and that's the difficulty in retail nowadays, that how much of your investment you should put in online and how much you should put in your stores. Right. But the combination, the customer is more and more king or queen. Yeah.
So if you look at 10 years ago, that whole e-commerce revolution was really taking off, and it's still growing rapidly. I think now with COVID, even more rapidly, because people are more and more looking for convenience. If you look maybe 2, 3, 5 years down the road, next to expansion of that e-commerce, let's say, domain, do you see other things in the innovation domain where you think that will be impactful for retail?
Yeah, well, that goes further in digitalization, of course. Everything, to know your customer even better, the one-to-one, understanding really what your customer wants. That is, who understands his customer can offer the right things. People who are getting older need more protein, so you should add more protein to the food. But it also has to do with packaging, because there are more single households, and you need smaller packaging. And nowadays there are already apartments built without a kitchen, and you should be a kind of kitchen, so there's a lot of changes you have to go.
And that you can tap into with innovation. If you talk about, having more data about the consumer, what kind of data are you looking for then? Are you, and how will you gather the data? Is that through loyalty systems like other retailers are doing, or are you looking at beyond those loyalty systems to gather that data?
Yeah, I think you should look into to systems beyond. It should also be more agile, because, for example, when I used to work at Ahold or SHV Macro, we had huge data systems. And how to use that, it's difficult, and it should be leaner. It should be leaner, and we're looking for the solutions.
Right. And it's not only, I guess, about gathering the data, it's how you will use the data to serve your customers better, right? That's the challenge, I think.
That's the most important.
So that part is important on the customization of the consumer needs based on data, and that will help you then find out the products that you're looking for, either plant-based or more protein-based or
Exactly.
Yeah.
We call it data-driven retailing. That comes.
Right.
Normally, well, that's the big change also in retail.
Yeah.
Normally, it was the stomach feeling. In food and in non-food, and now it's really data-driven.
Yeah. If you look at the positioning of SPAR, you're playing into the domain of convenience, right? That's one of the anchor things. Can you define convenience and how that maybe relates to innovation in general? How can you be more convenient for your users, basically?
Yeah, well, the convenience in our food industry is that you are very near to a customer. I always explain it to my grandmother. When she was cooking, it took her 3 to 4 hours to make a meal. When my mother was doing that, it was an hour. My wife, when she is cooking, it's half an hour, 25 minutes. But now my kids, and they're in the 20s.
They cook?
Yeah, if they cook, but they have a moment when they say, okay, I'm hungry, I have to eat. Yeah. It's only 8 minutes.
Right.
8 minutes. Yeah. So at that difference, and that's for me convenience. Right. Yeah, you have to be on the right place, at the right time, at the right moment for your customer. In every meal moment.
How is this difference, this way of looking at the customer, than when you were working at Macro or in fashion, and other things that you learned in those retail industries that you can leverage now in your current role at SPAR?
Well, for example, with Macro, we already worked with a kind of loyalty card, and that was very data driven. And for example, in that time, we could almost we had the big brochure, and by data, we could tell how successful the brochure would be, and we could already tell that in the first hour of the opening of the brochure.
Oh, really?
How things were going, and that is well.
That's some time ago, right?
Some time ago, 25 years. Yeah. So that is, but the other thing, and that you see in non-food, for example, in fashion, that is really what the customer. Most of the time, in non-food, whatever has been bought, but the lady is the boss. Decides what she wants, and that can, and it can differ from for example, the color you're having. A color red is not always the right color red. Right. And that's also that during that time, well, there was not too much customer data, but you had to interview your customers. Right. What is the right color and what is the right fitting and those things. So that hasn't changed. No. But and that's what I like so much about retail, because actually in retail you see very quickly your success. And that's actually what's happening now in the online business. You see on the spot your success, and that's what's happening if you don't have the right apples. Or the right trouser, then people won't buy at your store. Right.
Yeah. Well, does that also mean that you can run many experiments because you have that customer relationship already to test new things? Do you do that?
Yeah. But that's for example what we learned from the fashion industry. Zara was very important in that. They came with the new collection every 2 weeks. They had people around the world, I think around 300 people, who make pictures just in the street, how people are wearing clothes, and from there on they brought it very quickly to the market. And normally in the fashion industry you had an autumn and a spring collection. And now it's every 2 weeks.
Does that work in food retail as well, similar?
Well, when it comes to tasting, yes. A brands takes a little bit longer. Right. Yeah, but you can always see certain formats you want to use. For example, if you want to sell hot soups in different sizes, you can test that very quickly. Right. A consumer in retail, I say, it takes you 6 weeks to see what if it's successful or not.
Is that also what makes you so passionate, that you're so close to the consumer and you can try new things out and learn quickly?
Exactly, very quickly. and we don't take advantage enough of it. We should test even.
Why is that?
Well, that if you ask me, what is the big difference between the online, the digital industry, and companies like you're running, and the old-fashioned industry, it's difficult to get this speed, and we're learning. And that's why we're working together. But it's not in our veins, and it is a different way of doing business.
Yeah, I think within technology companies running experiments, on a daily basis, maybe even on an hourly basis.
Exactly.
Booking changes its website, maybe now not during COVID, but normally, and Amazon also over hundreds of times a day to optimize, right? To get more data in. And this is something, obviously, you could. Well, it's not that easy in a physical store, but you can test more and more quickly to get the data, right?
And look at me. When I was doing in the fashion industry, I was already proud to tell the stories that my company in fashion industry could work like Zara and do every 2 weeks new collection. That's the big difference, and now it's 100 times almost a day.
Hey, and now you're with SPAR, a company that has 13,000 outlets over 48 countries, almost 40 billion in revenues. Completely different size, I think. Not everybody knows that SPAR is that big. I only knew after you told me, basically.
Right.
So SPAR is normally seen as a little bit of the smaller supermarkets on the camping side, on the universities, at least here in the Netherlands, but it's one of the leading food retailers, right? in the world.
And it started 88 years ago in Zoetermeer in the Netherlands. And that is very funny that it expanded very quickly. I don't think there is a retailer in the world who are now in 49 countries. We just opened Malaysia, our 49th country. But this is, and in the Netherlands where it started, it was almost completely wiped out. I think in the 50s there were 2,000 SPAR stores. Everybody knows it as the grocer around the corner.
How many are there now?
And there are now 484.
But
2-3 years ago there were 210. So we're growing
You're
quickly.
You're growing still quite rapidly. Last year I think you grew over 22%, right?
So it was a quick growth. But this is we think we are doing very well in the Netherlands. With this convenience concept. But our strength, I'd say, in SPAR International, I'm also in the board of SPAR International, our strength is that we can very quickly decide for a country where you can be successful in convenience stores, in small neighborhood supermarkets, in big hypermarkets or whatever, and roll that out. Because
is that in the DNA of SPAR as a holding maybe, or as a global company?
The strength. We are the head office is here in Amsterdam, and I think the knowledge and the sharing of the knowledge is the biggest strength, together with the what do you call that? Entrepreneurs.
The entrepreneurial spirit that the shop owners,
they're all individuals or have a couple of stores, but that is really the big thing, and we really sharing our knowledge all over the world, but also.
How do you do that? How do you make sure that what you learn here goes then to Malaysia or to? Do you have systems in place?
Yeah, we have systems in that. We are online. We have fantastic. Digital programs but also just picking up the phone. And sharing and go there. Of course, now with COVID, we don't travel too much, but you just take the plane and there's a good example. We have a fully automated distribution center in the Netherlands, and we got that opportunity to buy a completely set distribution center next door to our head office in Baalwijk. You don't believe that, but and that system that was called Swisslog. That's one of the famous systems in the world. And you just give a call to Amsterdam, and they say, hey, which other countries are using Swisslog? Well, those and those. Can you make an introduction? And in 3 days you're there, and they give you the ins and outs, and you take
so
that
this
back.
is also the advantage of being part of a larger organization.
Of a larger
for you,
organization.
because you learn quickly and
we
you
learn
share
quickly. But also for example, in buying the famous SPAR products all over the world, and we export them also to all the countries.